Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Tapping into Life podcast. As the podcast brings you yet another installment of Tap into the Off Script. This is an installment of the Tapping into Life podcast where we kind of go off the norm of the podcast. And we talk about things that not only pertains to the function and the environment of the Tapping into Life LLC brand. However, it is more of a social economic conversation, right? And so before we get started, come on in, everybody, get settled, get your snacks, your pad, and your pen. Come on in, like, share, subscribe to the YouTube, like the Facebook page. And just, I want you to enjoy this episode, right? Because I know it was posted that, you know, a status about Black lives, pertaining to today's episode that some of you all may have said, may have thought, oh, okay, like, what is Matthew going to say? What is he going to do? How he going to come across? Listen, it ain't nothing but love here. It ain't nothing but peace and prosperity here. It ain't nothing but warm hugs here. But there's some things that we need to talk about. And today, we're going to talk about that topic. And the topic is Black lives and you, right? Black lives and you. Now, I'm going to be primarily talking to all of my brothers and sisters of the African American race, right? I'm going to be talking to y'all, right? Because I feel as if though, in order for us to progress, in order for us to hold a requirement for other people outside of our community to treat us fairly, to treat us with love, to treat us with respect, to get to where we want to get to, we have to understand that we need to fix some things domestically within our community. Right. And I understand, before we move on and before I get into it, I really don't want to hear that every other community of people does it. It's obvious that every other community of people do it. It is. It's obvious. But we're focusing on us today. We're focusing on us today. Because in order, like I said, in order for us to start accomplishing things further and more effectively and more efficiently, we got to tap into some things, some discrepancies within our own community. So come on in. Like I said, grab your pens, your pads, your snacks, sit back and enjoy the episode. And I hope that this episode is very enlightening. I hope that you gather some knowledge and some wisdom. I hope that, something that I say on tonight triggers you and, say, hey, you know what? That's facts. We need to get ourselves together as a community. So come on in. All right. Now, I'm not going to hold you up. We're already 5 minutes in. I'm going to tell you, me talking 5 minutes goes by real fast. But, that's neither here nor there. So the topic is Black lives and you. Right? And I'm going to start off. Before I go on, I'm going to start off by saying I appreciate Black lives, right? I appreciate and I love and I respect my Black brothers and sisters. I do. I do. I respect each and every one of y'all, right? I respect the African American community. I support my community. I'm down for the cause. Okay. Now, how I exemplify me being down for the cause, it may be a little different from a lot of other people, but I'm down for the cause. I support, you know, uh, my Black brothers and sisters, old, young, short, tall, male, female. I support each and every one of y'all. But the love I have in me says that we can be so further along once we decide to take a look at ourselves as it pertains to our own community. Anything that we want to do as a community, we can do it. We got the power to do it. It's inside of us. But we have to learn how to look deep down inside ourselves within a community and say, hey, you know what? What we doing as a community, this right here, gotta go. We can't do that anymore because it's holding us back. It's slowing down the process. Right? So I'm gonna go. I'm not going to be before you long. We're gonna jump right into it. And I'm gonna start by saying, give it a little bit about the backstory of how this episode came to light, right? Because I've seen some stuff on social media that I don't necessarily like. I'm not happy about the energy that's on social media. I'm not happy about, how we just tear each other down on social media. I'm not happy about how some of us on social media as a Black community, we could just be so negative and so mean and so nasty and so evil spirited. Like we could just be horrible. Not all of us, some of us. But we got to realize that some of us impact the entirety of the African American community. We do. It's half of us positive, half of us, loving, caring, supportive. The other half of us is like, I'm going to tear you down. I'm going to talk about you. I'm going to gag you. I'm going to roast you. I'm going to do all of this and this and this and this and this and this, and ain't nothing negative. So, in my opinion, the Black community at times can seem divided. In my opinion. Now, some of y'all might agree, some of y'all may disagree, and that's fine. But in my opinion, it seems as if though at times our community is divided. And I'm going to give y'all some examples. I'm going to give y'all some examples since I brought this topic up on the platform. I'm going to give y'all some examples to help back up how I view the Black community, right? Like I said, it ain't nothing but love. It ain't nothing but respect. But it's just like somebody raising children. You want to see the child be the best that they can be, but you also gotta call that child out on some things and help that child out to grow and help that child learn and be knowledgeable and highlight some things for that child to see. It's just like the Black community. We want to be so progressive. We want to be so, out there. We want to be so strong and united. But how can we be united as a community when we have a divide and rifts? We have division and indiscrepancies within our community. And these are the things that we need to look at. These are the things that we need to hold ourselves accountable on. Because if not, the communities outside the Black communities are going to look at us as a joke. They're going to continue to look at us as a joke. They're going to continue to say, nope, we're not giving you that right. They're going to continue to treat us unfairly. They're going to continue to mock us and disrespect us. They're going to continue to call us out of our names, these derogatory names that we don't like. So I was putting the episode together, writing down some notes and stuff. And the first thing that came to my mind was Black Lives Matter. That was the first thing that came to my mind was Black Lives Matter. Fix my microphone here. I didn't know it was faced the opposite direction. So that was the first thing. Now, and for all of you that don't know, I hope that each and every one of you do know, but the Black Lives Matter movement started, unfortunately, and I say unfortunately because we had the civil rights movement. And many of our parents and grandparents were very optimistic that once, the civil rights movement stood strong and influenced a lot of, law people to change these laws, a lot of states in the country as a whole to change these laws, that we wouldn't have these issues anymore. But, apparently, the civil rights gave birth to the Black Lives Matter movement for the same cause, right? And it originated from, the whole Trayvon Martin situation. And that's when for the most part, that's when we really heard the whole Black Lives Matter. We heard the statement Black Lives Matter. We heard the chants. We heard the birth and the cry of the movement. And so when this was all coming to my head, when all of this was coming into my ears and in my eyes, I'm gonna be honest. I was a bit confused. Not because of the movement and why it was birthed into the 21st century. Not that. I was confused because I honestly did not understand why it was presented. And so if somebody does not know why something is, what do? You do your research. You do research. Because literally, you wake up the next morning, you hear Black Lives Matter, and it's like, okay, wait, what? What is this? What do we stand for? What is this movement that everybody is, agreeing with and just joining this movement, what does it mean? Right? So it means equality amongst Black people, the same as the civil rights. It's basically the same thing as the civil rights, and to be honest, it is. It's the same thing as the civil rights, but with a different name. Unfortunately, us as a Black community, we are sitting here fighting the same battles that our parents fought. We are sitting here as millennials fighting the same battle that our grandparents fought and that our great-grandparents fought, and so on and so forth. We're literally doing the whole thing all over again. Unfortunately, we went from the whole Underground Railroad movement to the Civil Rights movement. Now we're here, Black Lives Matter movement, unfortunately. And I don't know about y'all, but as a millennial, someone who was born in the 90s, the last thing that I would have thought was that my generation would be, joining the movement for racial equality. That was the last thing in my years thus far on this life that I ever thought that I would see. The last thing that I thought that I would ever see are Black people still fighting to be treated fairly, to be respected equally, to have the same equal rights, and not have our rights as Americans, taken away from us, from up under our feet. So once I understood what the movement was, I looked at the people who were talking about the movement, right? I'm looking at the people who are saying hashtag Black Lives Matter. I'm looking at the people who were on TV saying Black Lives Matter. I'm looking at the protesters. I'm looking at everybody who are saying Black Lives Matter. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I'm still confused. So how are we carrying out this movement? Right? And here's why I ask myself how we're carrying out this movement. Because on one half of the Black community, I see peaceful protesting. On one half of the community, I see peaceful protesting, respectfully and peacefully fighting for the rights for the entire community. On the other half, I'm seeing people tear shit up. On the other half, I'm seeing people provoking violence or promoting violence. I'm seeing people, antagonizing a whole nother community to do them wrong so they can act a fool. I'm seeing people tear down their own community, burn down their own communities. Mind you, we're still in a pandemic at the time, where the protest was really going, when literally every state had was having protests. They didn't know where to put the National Guards at, because it seemed like every time you turn around, state police and National Guards had to go to this city, go to that city. And it's like, how many National Guards and Army troops, can they accommodate all of this stuff, plus the police departments and stuff like that? So I understood, but I'm at the same time, like I say, I'm really confused. Like, okay, what are we doing here? Like, Half the people are doing it correct. The other half are destroying. So it's peace over here, destruction over here, civil over here, chaotic over here. So me, as this young black man looking at this movement and finding out more about this movement, I'm sitting here like, okay, we need to kind of be united in how we're going to push this movement and make this movement strong and make this movement loud. But then, thinking about it a little more, I kind of realized something. It's not the movement that's the problem. It's some people or half the community that's hopping on this bandwagon as representers. That's the problem. And here's why I say that. Because you have these halves. You have one half over here that hops on this bandwagon, that's trying to push this movement, that's trying to, make this movement loud. And they're doing it peacefully. They're doing it respectfully. They're doing it, within following the law. They're doing they're doing it in a civil manner. I'm not talking about y'all. I'm talking about these people over here that decide they want to tear shit up, not knowing that the stuff that they tearing up, your same tax dollars are going to have to pay for it. I'm talking about these ones who are provoking violence to try to prove a point. We know that even still in the 21st century, that racism is still a thing, that inequality is still a thing. We know that civil injustice when it comes down to the African American race compared to other races are still a thing. We know that there's just this giant that has been walking about the spiritual formality of the earth. We know that this giant has traumatized us and is still traumatizing us. We know that there's some people who has lost their lives because of this monster of racism. We know these things. We know that there's some people who are incarcerated because of racism. We know that there's some people, some children who don't have either or no parents because of this monster called racism. We know this. The last thing we need is for this half over here to try to incite violence by way of provoking to try to prove a point that that this monster still exists. We're very aware of that. We're very aware of that. Okay, it has happened back in slavery when that was abolished. It happened back under the Jim Crow law when that was abolished. It happened under segregation when that was abolished. Here we are. It's still going. Like we're very aware of that. We're very aware that there are generations who lived during the peak of this, still teaching this. The ways of this monstrosity that's racism in the lives of their children and their children's children and their children's children. We're very aware of that. We don't need for people to constantly keep reminding us when we as the Black community, oh, here we are, we're being reminded every single day. All right? So for these people over here, being radical and rebellious and not doing things the civil and lawful way, y'all are the reason why a lot of people outside the Black community really don't have much respect for the movement. Y'all. And I understand y'all might feel some type of way, this half over here, but this half over here is doing it right. That's just me. I'm not, and I'm standing 10 toes down on that. Okay. Old school way, not old school, but old school saying that I've heard my parents say, my grandparents say, and even one of my great grandmothers. It's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. It's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. It's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. And you know what? It's 1,000 ways to slay a giant. So now I'm understanding the whole Black Lives Matter thing, right? I'm understanding the Black Lives Matter movement. I understand that there's some people that's doing it right and pushing this movement correctly. And I understand that there's some that's doing it the complete opposite. They're doing it the exact wrong way. And this is the reason why the other communities of people really despise the whole movement. Because of these people over here. Okay. So one thing about me is I like to do research, so I'm researching the Black Lives Matter movement, but I'm also taking a look at my community, the community that my humanness resides in, right? I was born into this earth with majority of my genes saying that I am a Black male, right? So I was born into this community of people, of other people who their genes majority say, hey, you Black too. Okay. And I understand that. But I'm looking at my community because I'm like, okay, well, if my community wants to be treated fairly, wants to be treated with love and respect and kindness, wants the justice system to be fair, wants all these things, we have to take accountability in what we're doing within our community. So we have to first identify what's going on in our community, because we like to see, we like to say what's going on in all the other communities, but we don't like to say what's going on in our community. So when they ask, oh, what's really going on in our community? And like I said, yes, other communities, they may have their issues, but this episode ain't about the other communities. This episode is about us as Black folk, okay? This episode is about us as a Black community. And we can't sit up here and every time we get called out on something, we deflect it upon another community. Not today. Not today. Because we don't get anywhere by doing that. So what's really going on in our community? Okay, I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked. There is division in our community. Within our community, let's first look up the word community. Because I think once I read the definition of community, this will shake some stuff up. This will shake the surface level of the dirt up, of the soil that we're supposed to be using to grow such prosperous fruit in our community. I think it needs to be shaken up a little bit, don't y'all? I think it needs to be shaken up a little bit. So we're gonna look at the definition of community. All right, let me go. I know it's around here somewhere. Let's look at the community. All right, community is a noun. All right, a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common. So in this situation, the characteristic that we have in common as the Black community is that we are black. Okay? All right. We black. So let me go on to the second one. Because the second one is the one that's really going to shake some shit up. Okay? I'm just going to be honest with you. It's going to shake some stuff up. And it's going to help us see a lot more. So the second definition is a group of individuals who share a common geographic, social, or cultural characteristics and are bound by a sense of belonging and mutual interdependence. Okay, let me read that up that last half, because I'm pretty sure y'all can put 2 and 2 together and understand the first half, but I'm gonna repeat the second half, because the second half is where stuff starts shaking stuff up. All right. They are a group of individuals, okay, that are bound by a sense of belonging and mutual interdependence. In layman's terms, if you want to look up the word interdependence, the state of being independent upon one another. Oh, the state of being dependent among one another. So what does that mean, Matthew? I'm glad y'all asked. That means that even if I'm sharing a space or have things in common with a group of people that I'm sharing the space with, I have the right as a human to keep my independence as it pertains to me, the individual. I have a right to share the same space and share the same characteristics and still uphold my identity, who I am as an individual, who I am as a person, who I am as a human, and who I am as a spiritual existence. Maintaining the comfortability that I am different from the next person that I am sharing the community with. Maintaining the difference and upholding the difference that I may not look like you, I may not have hair like you, I may not have the same skin color as you, I may not have the same, the physical appearance as you. I may not dance to a 2-step, baby, I might dance to a 9-step. But you know what? We share the same community, and I have the right to be my individual, true, authentic self. That is the definition of interdependence, and interdependence is part of the community. You cannot, so here's by definition, if a group of people compromise their interdependence, then it's no longer a community of people. Can I say that again? Can I say that again? Ooh, by definition of the word community, we must have, every individual is required to uphold the interdependence within themselves. And if by chance our interdependence is compromised, if by chance the vast majority of the individuals in the community's interdependence is compromised, then it is no longer a community, because community consists of people who share a few things in common. However, they're individuals with different identities. So once the individuals with different identities, once their interdependence is compromised, it is no longer a community. You know what it is? It's called a cult. Ooh. It's called a cult. So as a Black community, are we really a community? Or are we, as the Black community, a cult? Because let's look at this. Let's look at this. We say we are a Black community. Then every individual, by definition of the word community, has to maintain the state of being dependent upon one another, has to maintain the state of upholding their individuality and their uniqueness. Y'all are trying to attach community to human nature, when community is attached to humanness. And like I said, once the interdependence is compromised, once the individuality is compromised, once the shoot, I lost my train of thought. Once the individual is compromised, the individuality is compromised. Once those things are compromised, baby, once the interdependence is compromised and the vast majority is falling into the trick of individual selves and individualities being compromised, baby, it's called a cult. And a lot of things we do are cultish. Ooh. 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 So, are we as a Black community a cult? Or are we, in fact, a community? Because half of the people over here are a community, or a Black community, or the Black community. Okay, there's a Black community of people. The other half over here, you're just a cult that just so happen to be Black. You're just a cult with Black individuals. You're not a community. The community has been compromised. The interdependence have been compromised. You're not a community by definition. You're a cult. Whew. Giving up who you are to appease the vast majority. Compromising your self-identity to appease the vast majority. Who the hell is the vast majority? They ain't create you. Oh, in order to be accepted in the Black community as someone who was born Black, you must do this. You must do that. There's all these requirements, and you got to check off every last one of them. And you know what? If you don't do it, you can't be accepted into the Black community. You can't come to the cookout. If you don't sign your soul away by definition, you can't be accepted. Because we got to understand that we have people who are born Black, people who just so happen to be African American. These people don't feel safe in the natural community that they should be feeling safe in. You know how many Black people say they don't feel safe but being in the Black community? You know how many? It's a lot of them. It's a lot. It's a hell of a lot. Why? Because we call ourselves a community. But the rules exemplify that of a cult. So the question is, do all Black lives really matter? Because you're demonizing. And I'm not saying all of us. I'm not saying all Black people. I'm saying it's a good chunk of us within the entirety of our community. We're demonizing each other because we're different. But by definition of the Black community, by definition, we should be Black individuals with the state of, let me read it again. We should be Black individuals with the state of being dependent amongst one another. We should be able to have an individual, we should be able to embrace our individual selves, uphold our individuality, and our interdependence. As individual Black people. But here's what's happening. A lot of us as the Black community say, hey, in order to be accepted into the Black community, you got to follow these rules and follow this criteria. And if you don't follow these rules and follow this criteria, you can't come to the cookout. You can't be accepted into the Black community. Well, let's be clear. Black individuals have a humanness that consists of an automatic ticket and the automatic pass into the Black community. You can't put somebody out of the Black community because you don't agree with them. If they Black, they Black. They automatically are in the Black community. You just don't agree with them. They may have different views and opinions about stuff. They may follow different spiritual and religious practices. They may do stuff differently. Don't mean that they're less Black than you are. That just simply means that they're upholding the definition of a Black community. I mean, these ones that a lot of us are trying to throw away and trying to exile from the community uphold the definition way more, 10 times over than what you're doing. Oh, I'm for the Black community. Oh, but you hop online and you rip Black people to shreds. Make that make sense. Just saying. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Oh, I'm for the Black community. Oh, I'm for the Black community, but you a Black man calling a Black woman bitches and hoes. Make it make sense. You for the black community. Oh, Black Lives Matter. Do they really? Do all of them really? You for the community. You for the culture. But you're exemplifying opposite. Make it make sense. Oh, I got one. You're for the culture. You're for Black Lives Matter. You're for all Black lives. You're down with the black community. Okay, that's fine. But you listen to music that says that it's okay for black men and black women to degrade other black men and other black women. Ooh. Y'all say Black Lives Matter, but you allow some of these rappers to degrade black women. Oops. Oops. You're so Black Lives Matter and you so down with the black community, but this is how some of you black women treat black men. You're so down for the community, but not a lot, but some of us as black people has failed our kids. Some of us as black men and black women has failed our kids. But y'all Black Lives Matter, right? Your teenage daughter goes out and gets pregnant at an early age, and you throw them out onto the streets because they made a mistake. But with Black Lives Matter, for us to be so Black Lives Matter, we sure throwing a lot of black people away for making mistakes. And here's where I sweep some people off their feet. We so Black Lives Matter, all Black Lives Matter. Does all Black Lives Matter? Does all Black Lives Matter really? Do they really matter? Okay, so if they matter, why is it that out of all LGBT youth, 26% of them are black? You got so mad that your son or your daughter not decided, but your son or your daughter just so happened to be gay or bisexual or transgender. You got so mad that you cast them off the boat. You pushed them onto the water. You threw them out the house. You threw them away. They're out here homeless. Some of them didn't even make it a whole year. But all Black Lives Matter, huh? All Black Lives Matter. But 26% of the homeless youth are black. And not only are they black, they're part of the LGBT community, which it seems like the black community, a lot of people in the black community have such an issue with it. But all Black Lives Matter. All Black Lives Matter. I'm trying to figure out why black LGBT people are so demonized within the black community. But your cousin Junebug just shot somebody. And you putting on Facebook and other social media free Junebug. What? So you mean to tell me that you would rather throw somebody And I don't condone throwing people out, but let's just call a spade a spade. You throw somebody out who just don't happen to be a part of the black community and they're LGBT. They live it in their truth. They just want to be happy and love. If they're guilty of anything, they just guilty of wanting to be happy and being loved and being, appreciated and accepted. You may not honestly agree with it, and that's okay, but they just want to be respected and loved. You throw them out. Your cousin Junebug just shot and killed somebody. And you talking about free Junebug. Your cousin BB or your brother BB then get set up there and he going to federal prison for selling drugs. Drugs that's killing millions of people every year. But you, free BB, but you demonize somebody because they decided they wanted to be who they woke up and decided they wanted to be who they are. But Black Lives Matter. All Black Lives Matter, right? Do they really? We have black men treating other black men with disrespect because this group of black men over here don't talk and walk like this group of black men over here. We have black women disrespecting other black women because these black women over here don't present themselves like these black women over here. But all Black Lives Matter, right? All of them matter, right? Okay, y'all say that. We got Christian black folk, got an issue with Muslim black folk. They got an issue with Buddhist black folk. They got an issue with black and other black individuals that just so happen to go about a different spiritual path. They believe in a whole different spiritual. Their spiritual beliefs are a little different. Y'all attacking each other. But all Black Lives Matter, right? I'm just saying. All Black Lives Matter. Do they really? When we ain't saying all the names of the Black lives we lost due to violence, due to civil injustice, due to hate. We ain't saying all their names. We've said a good amount. Don't get me wrong. Unfortunately, it has been a lot. When I mean unfortunately, because don't nobody want to sit up there and say the name of somebody who passed away because we didn't want them to pass away. We wanted them to still be living. But even those people who are unfortunately no longer with us, yes, we have said their names, but have we said all the names of all the people who are no longer with us because their Black lives were different from the cult criteria of the Black community? Help me make this make sense. Help me make it make sense. Help me make it make sense. People of darker skin attacking people of lighter skin. People of lighter skin attacking people of darker skin. For what reason, I don't know. We disrespecting and degrading our brothers and sisters just because they might have lighter skin or darker skin. But all Black Lives Matter, don't they? All of the Black Lives Matter, apparently. That's what y'all say. But all this attacking because of the complexion of the skin. Why? What? All right, I'll wait. Make it make sense. First time we detect our Black brothers and sisters of being a human and they make a mistake or they make a bad choice, we ready to throw them away. We ready to throw them away. But not once we stopped and realized what's going on in this person's life. What is causing them to do the bad things that they're doing? What trauma is going on that they haven't healed from? What hurt and pain have they not healed from? How was they raised and what environment was they raised in? Why is their spirit so toxic that their human nature projects the toxicness of their spirit? And my question is, why the hell are we not spiritually and hearing the soul, the cries of the souls of the people that we throwing away? Oh. But we want to be treated fair, acting in the way of a segregated mindset. But all Black Lives Matter, huh? When we as a community speak more ill will against each other than the people of other communities do, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. In our generations now, as Black people, I guarantee if there was a survey with 1,000 people, 90% of them would say, 90% of them would say that I've heard negativity, more negativity from my own community than I have from communities outside my own community. I guarantee you. I guarantee if everybody survey 1,000 people, 95% would say that. We still in this crab in a barrel mentality. We still like to tear each other down to be on top. We still like to pin each other against each other in competition. What are we in competition for? But all Black Lives Matter. Do they really? We limit ourselves. When I tell you this community, and I understand that there are some of my Black brothers and sisters who are working hard every day to break this generational curse. But there's a generational curse that has saturated so much of the Black community that we limit ourselves to what we can and can't do. And we limit ourselves to the point to where we see history is being made, yet we speak, we ain't never gonna get there. We speak, we ain't never gonna get there. We speak, oh, we're never gonna be on TV. When some of the most iconic shows on TV today consist of Black people who played the stars of the show, or a cast that was majority Black. Some of the most iconic TV shows. We don't have enough Black representation. What? You had Good Times. You had the Jeffersons. You had Sanford and Son. You had On Our Own. You had the Royals. You had Family Matters. You had a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Living Single, The Parkers, the D.L. Hughley Show. You had Moesha. You had Gullah Gullah Island. What? Excuse me? You had Pose. You had Noah's Ark. But there's no representation of Black people. We're not getting recognized. We're not getting recognized in the music industry. Why? The richest singer, the richest active performing artist alive today. Her name is Beyonce. Okay. We have some of our music artists who are Black that have broke records. What are y'all talking about? Do we not see as the Black community that the very seats that we say that we would never sit at, we're dominating these seats? We now have Black senators, Black congressmen and congresswomen, Black CEOs, Black chairmen and chairwomen. We now have Black owners of sports teams. We have Black owners of restaurants and other businesses. What are we talking about? Why are we limiting ourselves? Well, we have all of these people that have gone on and became successful and paved the way, and then as they're going on their journey and being successful in great life, they turn around and say, hey, it's your turn. Ain't no excuse for you to do what you need to do to be great. So get your Black self off that couch and be the best Black person that you can be in this world. So apparently Martin Luther King ain't do nothing. Apparently Frederick Douglass ain't do nothing. Apparently Thurgood Marshall ain't do nothing. Apparently Madam C.J. Walker ain't do nothing. Apparently Russell Bader ain't do nothing. Y'all help me understand this. I'll wait. How can all Black lives matter when you limit your Black life? Oh, help me understand. All Black lives matter, but you come up with an excuse of why you can't be great in life. I'll wait. How can all Black Lives Matter? You ain't even got respect for yourself. You come up with every excuse in the book and you limit yourself. But Black Lives Matter, right? Oh, this country is designed to keep the black man down. When the 5 richest people in the world, not in the world, when the 5 richest people in the country, out of the 5 richest people in the country, 3 of them are black. What are we talking about? When in 2008, a man by the name of Barack Obama sat as the first black president in U.S. history, something that we didn't even think our great grandkids would have ever seen. When we got athletes going over here across seas to be in the Olympics, they coming back with Olympic medals. What are we talking about? When we have former sports athletes owning $1 million businesses, what are we talking about? When the biggest production company in the entire country, I'm not going to say the biggest, but one of the biggest production companies is owned by Tyler Perry. What are we talking about? But when out of the 10 richest comedians and the 10 most successful comedians, majority of them are black. What are we talking about? When, as of today, as of June 18th, 2024, the richest actress in Hollywood goes by the name of Angela freaking Bassett. What are we talking about? Who not only executive produces a show on ABC, but it also executive produced its spinoff on the Fox network. What are we talking about? So I'm trying to figure out why we limit ourselves with these old sayings that the country is built on, is built to keep the black man down, when we seeing black men and black women kicking ass and taking names every single day, making history every single day. Nah, you can believe that. I'm not gonna believe that. Let me tell you now. When I sat up there and saw Barack Obama be when I sat up there, excuse me, and saw Barack Obama become the first black president, my excuses as a grown man of why I can't be great, they stopped right then and there. They stopped right then and there. I'm just gonna be honest with you. So we got to understand that we got a lot of work to do within the black community as black people. If we want the support from communities outside of the black community, we got to do the work within ourselves in our own community. We got to sit down and have these conversations about what we can do, what we, to be better, what we need to do, what we need to stop doing. Because to be honest, we ain't going nowhere. We ain't going as fast as we can go. We are not as far along as where we should be. Why? Because we sitting here attacking each other within our own community because of differences from the minority in our own community for having differences, but upholding the definition of a Black community. Because we like to say that we're a community, yet we're operating as if though we're a cult. The very moment that somebody does something that you don't agree with, y'all ready to drag them, y'all. Y'all ready to disrespect them. Now Black Lives Matter, huh? Do it really? I'm gonna get off here because I don't know if I done made some of y'all feel uncomfortable. I mean, I ain't even got on the fact that all Black Lives Matter, but we sit up there and drag and talk ill will about people who decide they want to be in an interracial relationship. We ain't gonna talk about that. I ain't even get onto the fact that all Black Lives Matter, but y'all will sit up here and disrespect and degrade men and women of a bigger size that just so happen to be Black. But we ain't gonna talk about that. Mm. Mm. I hope, I'm telling you, I hope somebody got something out of this. I hope somebody got something out of this because we got work to do as a Black community. We got work to do as a Black community. We got work to do as a Black community. In order for us to be better than where we are as a community, in order for us to move forward faster, effectively, and more efficient as a Black community, we got some internal work. Because, baby, I'm telling you right now, we as a Black community got one too many civil wars going on within our own community than we need to have. But then we so quick to cry when communities of a different race treat us the exact same way we're treating each other as it pertains to the differences. Okay, let me get off here. Let me go and get off here. I appreciate it. We got some work to do, y'all. And I'm just coming with love. I really am. I really am. I'm coming to y'all from a place of love and kindness and grace and discipline. Like, we got work to do. We got to do better. So I hope that somebody or a vast majority of y'all have tapped into this episode, wrote some key facts down. Hey, let me go on to my brothers and sisters, say, hey, we need to have a conversation about A, B, C, X, Y, and Z. But I'm gonna let y'all go. I've said my piece. So remember to like, share, subscribe, tag a friend, tell a friend, email the link to a friend. Subscribe on the YouTube, like the Facebook page. Comment if you... I don't know why I did not change the topic that's under my name. Can I do that? Can I really? Hold on. I wonder if I can do that. Oh, man. I don't think I can change. Oh, darn. Oh, is this it? No, that's not it. But that's a nice. Okay, I gotta try that. Anyway, I will get off here. The topic was Black Lives and you. Do Black Lives really matter? And I'm gonna put it in the description when I post it. So the up under my name, don't disregard that. I forgot in my head. I changed it and just now realized it. Okay, I'm gonna let y'all go. Remember, always make time for yourselves to tap in to your true self, to your true identity. Work hard on yourself so that you can be great in life. I am your spiritual life coach, Matthew B. And until next week, we're going to leave. We're going to get out of here. I speak peace and prosperity into each and every one of you in the next week to come. Until next week, take care, be safe, and I love each and every one of you.